My mother stood beneath the fellowship hall lights with one hand around a glass of sparkling cider and the other resting on my sister's shoulder. Behind them, through the tall windows, I could see my dark green Toyota RAV4 parked beneath a maple tree. Brooke's son's booster seat was visible through the back window. A blue school pickup tag hung from the mirror. The red enamel robin that had been on my key ring since the day my grandmother gave me the car was gone. "Before we cut Francis's cake," my mother said, smiling at nearly 50 relatives and church friends, "I want everyone to recognize what Noah did for his sister. He gave Brooke the SUV his grandmother bought him because he understood that a mother with 2 children needed it more than a single man." People turned toward me with approving expressions. Someone near the dessert table said, "That's what family is supposed to do." A few people clapped. Then Elaine Carter, who chaired the church's Family Assistance Committee, lifted a cream-colored card that had already been signed by half the room. "We wanted to thank Noah for setting such a generous example," she said. I had arrived in a rideshare 15 minutes earlier. I was still holding the paper receipt the driver had handed me because the app had failed to send one to my email. It was folded in my palm, damp from the sweat in my hand. I looked from the card to my mother, then to Brooke, then across the room to my grandmother. Grandma Frances had not applauded. At 82, she was small but never fragile. She sat at the center table in a navy dress with a silver brooch at her collar, her white hair pinned neatly at the back of her head. She had spent 35 years running the front office of a commercial plumbing company, and retirement had not softened the way she listened. She watched people the way other people read contracts. Quietly. Completely. She looked at me and asked, "Did you actually say yes?" My mother's smile tightened. "Mother, of course he did." Grandma kept her eyes on me. I asked Noah. The room shifted. Conversation stopped in stages, one table after another. Brooke's husband, Ethan, looked down at his shoes. My father moved his fork across an empty plate as if he might find a useful answer beneath it. I heard my own voice before I had time to decide whether I was ready. "No," I said, "nobody asked me." The applause died so completely that I could hear the refrigerator compressor humming in the church kitchen. My mother gave a small laugh meant to tell everyone I was exaggerating. "He means we didn't have a formal family meeting. Brooke's van broke down. Noah works for the county and has access to a vehicle. We made a practical arrangement." "I work for the city," I said, "and the truck is for city business. I can lose my job if I use it after hours." Brooke's face went pale. Elaine lowered the card. Grandma turned toward my mother. "Diane, you just told everyone the car was a gift." "It is now," my mother said, still smiling, though the smile no longer reached her eyes. "Noah agreed that Brooke should keep it. He's simply uncomfortable being praised in public." I did not agree to that either. My mother set down her glass. "This is not the time to turn a small misunderstanding into a performance." That sentence would have worked on me a year earlier, maybe even 3 months earlier. I would have swallowed my anger, told everyone it was complicated, and waited until later for a private conversation that would end with me apologizing for the tone I had used while asking for my own property back. But by then I knew too much. I knew my mother had taken the emergency spare key from the locked cabinet in my parents' mudroom while I was away at a municipal water quality conference. I knew she had told Brooke she could keep the RAV4 for at least 6 months. I knew Brooke had already taken it to a Toyota dealership as a possible trade-in on a larger minivan. I knew someone had contacted my insurance company and tried to list Brooke as the vehicle's primary driver. And 3 days before the birthday party, Elaine Carter had called me because my name appeared on a church transportation assistant's request I had never seen. What I did not know was why Elaine now looked more confused than embarrassed. She glanced down at the card in her hands. "Diane, the application you gave our committee said the SUV was a temporary loan while Brooke's van was being repaired." My mother's head turned sharply. "That was before Noah decided to make it permanent." Elaine looked at me. "Did you sign an updated statement?" "No." The silence deepened. Grandma Frances placed both hands on the table and rose. She did not raise her voice. "Then before anyone thanks my grandson for a decision he did not make," she said, "we are going to find out who made it for him." 4 months earlier, I had not thought of my RAV4 as evidence in a family dispute. I thought of it as freedom, and not only because it had 4 wheels. I was 43 years old, divorced, childless, and employed as a municipal water quality technician in Henrico County, Virginia. My job involved testing well systems, investigating contamination complaints, and driving to treatment sites in a white city utility truck with water quality services printed across both doors. The truck belonged to the department. Its mileage was logged. Its GPS was monitored. I could drive it between authorized locations, but I could not take it grocery shopping, use it for a weekend trip, or bring it to my mother's house for Sunday dinner unless I wanted to explain myself to a supervisor on Monday. My personal car had been a 12-year-old Ford Fusion with a heater that worked only when it felt respected. I kept it alive longer than I should have because I was helping Grandma recover from knee surgery that spring. Her house was 27 minutes from mine, and her physical therapy clinic was another 19 minutes beyond that. My sister visited when she could, usually on weekends if one of her children did not have a game or birthday party. My parents handled phone calls and prescriptions. I did most of the driving. I did not resent it. Grandma had shown up for me in ways no one else had. When my marriage ended at 38, she was the only relative who came to my apartment without asking what I had done wrong. She brought a pot of chicken soup, a roll of paper towels, and a small toolbox because she noticed the loose cabinet hinge before I did. When I changed careers 2 years later, leaving a warehouse management job that was draining the life out of me, she did not call it irresponsible. She asked what certification I needed and sent me links to evening programs. My mother, Diane, had reacted differently. "You're starting over at 40, she had asked. "Brooke already has a house and 2 children. You need to stop drifting." Brooke was 4 years younger than me, but my mother had always spoken about her as if she were the family's senior executive. Brooke had a husband, Ethan, a 7-year-old daughter named Leela, and a 4-year-old son named Mason. She taught 3rd grade at a private elementary school 3 days a week and ran the children's schedules with the concentration of an air traffic controller. Her life was busy. That part was true. But in our family, Brooke's busyness was treated as proof of importance, while mine was treated as available capacity. When Dad had outpatient heart surgery, I took time off and drove him to every appointment. At Thanksgiving, Mom thanked Brooke for coordinating the family because she had created the group text. When Brooke's basement flooded, I spent a Saturday removing damaged drywall, but Mom later described the cleanup as something Brooke and Ethan had handled alone. In our family, my work disappeared the moment it became useful. The Fusion finally died in the parking lot of Grandma's physical therapy clinic. I turned the key, heard one tired click, and watched smoke curl from beneath the hood. The repair estimate was more than the car was worth. I planned to finance something modest after I saved a larger down payment. Grandma listened while I explained my budget at her kitchen table. She nodded, asked what interest rate I had been quoted, and said nothing else. 2 weeks later, she told me she needed a ride to a dealership. I assumed she was helping a friend. Instead, a salesman named Ray walked us toward a dark green 2021 Toyota RAV4 with 38,000 miles and one previous owner. It was not new, but it looked new to me. The paint reflected the clouds. The cargo area was clean. The dashboard did not glow with warning lights. Grandma handed me the key. "For the man who never makes me feel like a burden," she said. I stared at her. "Grandma, no." "Yes. This is too much. It is transportation, Noah, not a yacht. You cannot spend this kind of money on me." "I can spend my money on anyone I choose." She gave Ray a look that told him not to interrupt. "And I am choosing the person who drove me to 16 appointments without once sighing when I walked slowly." The RAV4 cost a little over $26,000 after taxes and fees. Grandma paid from a savings account she had kept since selling the plumbing company shares Grandpa left her. The title application listed me as owner. The insurance policy listed me as the primary driver. The purchase agreement went into a green dealership folder that Grandma insisted on keeping because she saved every important paper in the same filing cabinet. Before we left the dealership, she attached a small red enamel robin to the key ring. "Your grandfather gave me this when we bought our first house," she said. "He used to say a robin always knows where home is." I laughed. "I think that is something he made up. Most useful truths are." For the next 4 months, I drove that RAV4 everywhere. I drove Grandma to therapy and to church. I took it west to the Blue Ridge Parkway on a weekend when I needed quiet. I bought a rubber cargo mat because the first time I carried water testing equipment in the back, a case leaked and left a faint chlorine smell for 3 days. I placed a gray emergency blanket under the front passenger seat. I kept quarters in the console for the parking garage near Grandma's cardiologist. It was the first substantial thing anyone in my family had given me without attaching a responsibility to it. That was why I put a spare key in my parents' emergency cabinet. The cabinet was a small steel box mounted inside their mudroom closet. My father kept spare house keys, copies of insurance cards, and the code to Grandma's alarm system inside. I added the RAV4 key because I had to travel to Norfolk for a 3-day state water conference. If Grandma needed help while I was away, Dad could use my car rather than ask her to climb into his low sedan. I told him exactly that. "This is for an emergency involving Grandma," I said. Dad nodded, understood. My mother was in the kitchen. I did not know she heard us. Brooke's minivan failed the second morning of my conference. The transmission began slipping while she was dropping Leela at school. She managed to get the van to a repair shop, where the mechanic estimated 2 to 3 weeks and warned that the final cost might exceed $4,000. At 11:30 that morning, my mother texted me. "Brooke's van is in the shop. She may need help for a few days." I was sitting in a conference room listening to a presentation about stormwater runoff. I replied during the break. "I can help coordinate rides when I'm back Friday. Dad can use my RAV4 for Grandma only if she needs anything." My mother answered with a thumbs-up emoji. When I returned Friday evening, the RAV4 was not in the airport parking garage where I had left it. For 10 seconds, I thought I was on the wrong level. I checked the row marker, walked to the next aisle, then opened the tracking app connected to my insurance device. The vehicle was parked outside Brooke's townhouse. I called my father. "Did you move my car?" There was a pause long enough to answer the question. "Your mother thought Brooke needed it." "Where is the airport key?" "She took my spare and had Ethan drive me to the garage." I closed my eyes. Why did nobody call me? "Diane said you had already agreed to help." "I agreed to coordinate rides after I came home." Another pause. "It is only for 10 days or so," Dad said. "Brooke has the children. Try not to turn this into something larger." I took a rideshare home that night. My mother reimbursed none of it. The next morning, I drove with a coworker to Brooke's townhouse. The RAV4 sat in the driveway. A pink backpack rested on the back seat. 2 child seats had been installed. My gray emergency blanket was folded inside a cardboard box beside the garage. Brooke opened the door wearing leggings and a sweatshirt. Mason balanced on one hip. "Oh," she said, "Mom said you were fine with this." "I was not asked." She shifted Mason higher. "I thought you had the city truck." "For work. But you do not need to commute in your personal car. That does not make it available to you." Her expression hardened. "I am not trying to steal your car, Noah. My van is being repaired." "Then give me my key, and we will figure out rides." Mason began to fuss. Brooke glanced over her shoulder, then back at me. "Can we not do this in front of him?" The request was familiar. The timing was always wrong when I objected. Someone was tired, someone was celebrating, someone was sick, someone was watching. There was always a reason my boundary had to wait. "How long did Mom tell you that you could keep it?" I asked. "A few months, maybe." I stared at her. "She told Dad 10 days. Brooke's face changed, but only slightly. "Well, she said we would work it out." We are working it out now. I need my car. She exhaled through her nose. Noah, the van may not be worth fixing. Ethan and I are trying to decide whether to replace it. We cannot move two kids around in rideshares for weeks. I understand that you have a transportation problem. Then why are you making it worse? Because solving your problem by taking my car creates mine. Mason began crying. Brooke stepped backward into the house. I cannot have this conversation right now, she said. Call Mom. Then she closed the door. I stood in the driveway looking at my own vehicle and realized I could not take it without pulling out child seats, unloading backpacks, and creating a scene in front of two children who had nothing to do with the decision. That was exactly what my mother had counted on. She had not simply moved my car. She had wrapped it in enough family responsibility that reclaiming it would look cruel. I called my mother from the sidewalk. She answered on the second ring. Did you get home safely? You took my spare key. Your sister needed transportation. You told Dad it was 10 days. You told Brooke it might be months. Because nobody knows how long the repair will take. I told you the key was for emergencies involving Grandma. This was an emergency. No, it was a problem Brooke needed to solve. My mother's voice cooled. That is a very selfish distinction. I want the car returned today. Brooke has already installed the children's seats. Leela has a school event this afternoon, and Mason has a pediatric appointment Monday. You cannot expect her to reorganize her entire life because you suddenly need to drive to the grocery store. I need my car because it is my car. There you go, making it about ownership. It is about ownership. She sighed. You have always had difficulty seeing beyond what is technically yours. Families do not survive if everyone guards every object like a lawyer. I almost laughed. My mother had spent years telling me to behave like an adult. The moment I did, adulthood became legalistic. I am giving Brooke until tomorrow evening, I said. Then I will take the vehicle back. You will not humiliate your sister in front of her children. I am not humiliating anyone. You are threatening to remove the only reliable transportation she has. She removed mine first. My mother was silent for 2 beats. Then she said, Frances bought that car because she wanted to help the family. She bought it for me. She would want it used where it does the most good. Did you ask her? The question landed differently than the others. My mother's answer came too quickly. Do not drag your grandmother into this. Then she hung up. For the next week, I paid for rideshares, borrowed a coworker's truck once, and kept asking for a return date. Brooke's only message said the mechanic was still evaluating her van. I replied in writing that the RAV4 had to be returned by 6 the following evening. She did not answer. At 4:17 Tuesday afternoon at 4:17 Tuesday afternoon, an unfamiliar number called while I was collecting a water sample behind a daycare center. Mr. Mercer, this is Dana with Commonwealth Mutual, the woman said. I'm calling about a requested driver update on your auto policy. I stepped away from the treatment shed. What driver update? We received an inquiry about adding Brooke Mercer Hale as the primary operator of the 2021 Toyota RAV4. My stomach tightened. I did not request that. Do you know Ms. Hale? She is my sister. She has my vehicle without my permission. Dana's tone became more formal. Is the vehicle stolen? I looked at the ground. The honest answer was complicated. Brooke had not broken into the car. My mother had used a legitimate spare key. I had not yet demanded police involvement, and I did not want to make a statement I could not support. I authorized no transfer and no long-term use, I said. My mother removed the spare key from an emergency cabinet while I was out of town. Dana asked me to describe who currently possessed the car, where it was garaged, and how often it was being driven. She explained that a temporary permissive driver might be covered under some circumstances, but a person using the vehicle regularly and keeping it at another address could need to be listed. If an undisclosed regular driver had an accident, The company could investigate the circumstances before paying certain portions of a claim. "We are not canceling anything today," she said, "but you need to resolve who has the vehicle and where it is being kept. Can you block policy changes unless they come directly from me?" "Yes, I'll add a verbal password and a note requiring written confirmation from the named insured." I chose the word Robin. When the call ended, the dispute was no longer only emotional. Long-term use by an undisclosed driver could affect my insurance and finances. I added a verbal password to the policy, required written confirmation for changes, and chose the word Robin. I called Brooke. She answered while driving my car. I could hear the turn signal clicking. "Are you trying to add yourself to my insurance?" "Mom called them because you were making such a big issue about liability." "You cannot change my policy." "She was trying to protect you." "Protect me from the risk she created." Brooke lowered her voice. "I am taking Leela to dance. Can we do this later?" "No, pull over when it is safe." She went quiet. The turn signal stopped. A minute later, I heard the engine settle into idle. "Okay," she said, "I'm parked." "I need the car returned tonight." "I cannot return it tonight." "Why?" "Because the van is not being repaired." "What does that mean?" "The transmission is gone, the air conditioning compressor is failing, and there is rust under the rear frame. The mechanic says we would be throwing money away." "I am sorry, that still does not make my car yours." "We know that." "Do you?" Brooke inhaled. "Ethan and I found a used Sienna at River City Toyota. It has enough space for the kids and better safety ratings. We are trying to make the numbers work." A cold feeling moved across my chest. "What numbers?" "The dealer said the RAV4 has good trade value." For a moment, I thought I had misunderstood her. "You took my car to a dealership." "Just for an estimate." "You do not own it." "Mom said Grandma paid for it." "Grandma paid for it and titled it to me. She said you would sign when you saw how much it would help." I gripped the phone. "Brooke, listen carefully. I will not sign my vehicle over to you. I will not trade it for your minivan. Tell the dealership the owner has refused. You have no idea how impossible our schedule is right now. I know exactly how impossible mine has become because you are driving my car. You live alone." The words were so familiar that for a second I heard my mother instead of my sister. "What does that have to do with anything?" I asked. "You can adapt more easily." "Flexible," I said. "What?" "Nothing. Bring the car to my apartment by 7. She began crying, not loudly. That would have been easier to resist. Her voice simply thinned. "Leela already thinks we are getting the van," she said. "Mom took her to look at it. She picked the seat she wants. We have been living with one disaster after another, and for once I thought something was going to work out." I felt the old pressure open inside me. A child had been promised something. A family was struggling. I could end their distress by surrendering something valuable and absorb the loss privately. That was how every request became a moral test I was designed to fail. "Mom should not have promised Leela a vehicle that depends on taking mine," I said. "You are really going to do this to your niece?" "No, Mom did this when she made the promise." Brooke stopped crying. "You have changed," she said. "I hope so." She hung up. At 7:15, my parking space was still empty. Soon afterward, Mom told the extended family group chat that I had offered transportation and was now confused about how long my commitment should last. Relatives responded with hearts, prayers, and reminders that children came first. Dad said nothing. I typed 3 different responses and deleted all of them. The first was angry. The second was defensive. The third was 6 paragraphs long and sounded like testimony. None of them would help. My mother had spent decades learning how to frame a conflict before I entered it. She knew that once people accepted her first version, every correction I offered would sound like an excuse. Instead, I opened a blank email and wrote, "Diane and Brooke, I did not offer, lend, give, or authorize long-term use of my 2021 Toyota RAV4. The spare key was removed from the emergency cabinet while I was out of town. I am requesting return of the vehicle, both keys, and all original contents by 6 p.m. Thursday. I do not authorize any sale, trade, transfer, insurance modification, or additional driver assignment. Continued use after that deadline is against my express instruction. Noah. I copied my father, saved the email as a PDF, and sent it. Then I called River City Toyota. A sales associate transferred me to used car manager Martin Bell. I gave him the vehicle identification number from my insurance card and explained that someone had brought the RAV4 for appraisal without my authorization. He checked the file. "We did inspect a green RAV4 yesterday," he said. The customer represented that the titled owner was a family member who would participate in the transaction. "I will not participate." "Then we cannot accept it as a trade. We would need the titled owner's signature and identification at closing. Please note that clearly. I can mark the appraisal inactive and require direct contact from you if the vehicle returns." He asked for my email and sent confirmation within 10 minutes. That was my first visible act of resistance, but it did not feel heroic. It felt administrative. I changed a password, sent an email, and placed a note in a dealership file. No one gasped. No one apologized. Yet for the first time in the conflict, I had moved something my mother could not move back with a sentence. The next morning, Dad appeared at my apartment before work. He stood in the hallway holding 2 coffees and looking older than he had the week before. My father, Paul, was 69 and recently retired from a regional bank. He had spent his career explaining risk to people who did not want to hear about it. At home, he treated emotional risk as if ignoring it were a form of diversification. "Can I come in?" he asked. I let him inside. He placed 1 coffee on the counter. "Your mother is upset about the email." "I am upset about the car. She thinks the language was threatening." It was clear. Dad rubbed the side of the cup with his thumb. "There is something I need to tell you." I waited. I gave her the cabinet code. "You knew she was taking the key?" "Not at first. She said Brooke had a transportation emergency and that you had offered to help." "I texted Mom that the key was for Grandma." "I know that now. Did you drive her to the airport garage?" He nodded. "Did she have any message from me authorizing it?" "No." "Then why did you help her?" Dad looked toward the window. "Because when Diane has decided something is necessary, arguing tends to make everything worse." "For whom?" He did not answer. I felt disappointment settle more heavily than anger. My father was not confused. He was not powerless. He had simply calculated that my loss would create less conflict for him than my mother's refusal. "I need you to state in writing that I did not give Mom the key," I said. His head lifted. "Why?" "Because she is telling people I volunteered the vehicle." "Noah, I do not want to be placed between you and your mother." "You placed yourself there when you drove her to my car." He flinched. "I am asking you not to make this public," he said. "Your mother has already told church friends and family members that the arrangement was your idea. If she has to correct that now, she will be humiliated." I stared at him. So I should accept being humiliated because correcting the lie would embarrass the person who told it. "That is not what I said." "It is exactly what you said." He pushed the untouched coffee toward me. "You are angry. We should talk later." "No, we should talk while the facts are still simple. Did I authorize Mom to take the RAV4? No. Did I give you permission to give her the key for Brooke? No. Did she tell you she had my permission? Yes. Was that true? No. I let the answers sit between us. Dad's shoulders dropped. "I will send you a message confirming those facts, but please do not use it to attack your mother." "The facts are not an attack." He left without finishing his coffee. An hour later, his text arrived. "For clarity, Diane took the RAV4 spare from our emergency cabinet after telling me Noah had agreed that Brooke could use the vehicle. Noah did not personally authorize me to release the key, and I did not verify with him before helping retrieve the car from the airport. I saved a screenshot and emailed it to myself. Thursday at 6 came and went. At 6:20, Brooke texted, "Mom says we should wait until Grandma's birthday next weekend, so everyone can discuss this calmly." I replied, "The deadline was not conditional. Return the vehicle tonight." She answered, "I cannot do that to the kids with no backup plan." The next morning, I called the non-emergency police number, then ended the call before an officer answered. I was not afraid of being legally wrong. I was afraid of what would happen after I was right. Police at Brooke's townhouse. Children watching. My mother telling everyone I had tried to have my sister arrested over a family misunderstanding. A permanent story built around one desperate decision. I hated that I was still calculating everyone else's comfort. But I also knew a criminal complaint was not the only path. I could document the refusal, disable access, recover the car in a controlled setting, and use civil remedies if necessary. I scheduled an appointment with the dealership to discuss reprogramming the keys once the vehicle was back. I arranged rides for the next week. I informed my supervisor that I had a temporary personal transportation problem, but did not explain the family details. Then the church entered the story. Elaine Carter called me on Monday afternoon. I knew Elaine only casually. She was in her early 60s, with short gray curls and a calm way of asking questions that made evasion feel childish. She had chaired the church's Family Assistance Committee for 8 years. The committee helped members with utility bills, emergency grocery cards, temporary lodging, and transportation crises. "Noah," she said, "I need to verify something connected to a request involving Brooke." "What request?" "I cannot share private financial details without her permission, but your name and vehicle are described as part of the family's transportation plan." "I never agreed to be part of any application." There was a pause. "The form says you temporarily loaned Brooke your SUV while her van was being evaluated," Elaine said. "It also says the loan will end once the committee helps bridge the cost of replacement transportation." "That is not accurate." "What part?" "All of it except that she has the SUV." Elaine's voice became careful. "Did you give her permission to use it?" "No, my mother took a spare key while I was away." "Does Brooke understand you want it returned?" "Yes, I have written proof." "And are you planning to give her the vehicle permanently?" "No." Elaine was quiet long enough that I could hear papers moving on her desk. "Thank you," she said. "We will pause the request until the representations are clarified." "Who submitted it?" "I cannot discuss that with you, but I can say the committee would never ask a person to surrender personal property as a condition of helping someone else." "I appreciate that." Before we ended the call, she asked one final question. "Has anyone told your grandmother that you gave Brooke the vehicle?" I leaned back in my chair. "I do not know." "You may want to find out." After the call, I phoned Grandma. She answered with the television playing softly in the background. "There is my favorite water inspector," she said. "Technician. You inspect things and tell people their pipes are dirty. Close enough." I smiled despite myself. "How are you feeling?" "Old and opinionated. Both conditions are stable." We talked for a few minutes about her upcoming birthday. My mother had organized a lunch in the fellowship hall after Sunday service. Nearly 50 people were expected, including relatives from Charlottesville and several of Grandma's friends from the church quilting group. Then Grandma asked, "Why did you come in a rideshare last Thursday?" I had taken her to a cardiology appointment and told her the RAV4 was being serviced. It was the first direct lie I had told her in years. "It is complicated," I said. "That means someone told you not to tell me." I looked at the wall. "Mom says Brooke has the RAV4, I said. Grandma was silent. "For how long?" "I do not know. Brooke's van is dead. Mom wants her to keep mine or trade it toward another vehicle." "Your mother told me you offered it." "I did not. She told me you said a bachelor did not need an SUV as much as a family." I never said that. The silence on the line changed. It was no longer surprise. It was recognition. When did they take it? She asked. I told her everything: the spare key, the airport garage, the insurance call, the dealership appraisal, the church application. I expected anger. Instead, Grandma asked precise questions. Did I still hold the title? Yes. Did I have the dealer's email? Yes. Had Dad confirmed how the key was obtained? Yes. Had I given Brooke any permission in writing? No. When I finished, Grandma said, "Come to my house tonight. I do not want this to ruin your birthday." My birthday is a date, Noah. Your dignity is not a decoration we remove to keep the tables pretty. At 7, I arrived by rideshare. Grandma met me at the door with her cane in one hand and a green folder in the other. It was the dealership folder. Inside were the purchase order, proof of payment, odometer statement, title application, and a photocopy of the small card she had given me the day we bought the RAV4. I had forgotten she copied it before placing the original in the glove box. The card said, "For Noah, who never treats my need as permission to take his life. Drive somewhere that belongs to you. Love, Grandma Francis." I had read it once at the dealership and then put it away because it made me uncomfortable to feel that scene. Grandma tapped the folder. "These papers do not make you worthy of the car. They only make it harder for other people to pretend the car was theirs to distribute. I do not want you standing up in front of everyone and fighting with Mom." "Good, neither do I." "What are you going to do?" "I am going to ask questions." "That usually frightens people more." "It should." She sat at the kitchen table and poured tea from a white ceramic pot. "Noah, your mother has told at least 3 different stories. She told you the vehicle was a 10-day loan. She told Brooke it might be 6 months and could become a trade. She told me you gave it away permanently, and someone told the church committee it was temporary again. Elaine would not say who submitted the form. She did not need to." Grandma stirred honey into her cup. "Your mother believes a story is true if it produces the result she wants. What if I simply take the car before the party?" "You should take it whenever you can do so safely. But the car is no longer the only thing she took." I knew what she meant. My mother had taken my refusal and replaced it with consent. She had taken my silence and used it as a signature. Grandma reached across the table and touched the back of my hand. "At the party, do not make a speech," she said. "Do not arrive with a stack of documents. Do not try to convince 50 people of your character. If anyone asks you a direct question, answer it directly. That is all. And you?" "I will do the same." I studied her face. Did Grandpa really say robins always know where home is? She smiled. "No, he said they were noisy birds that stole his blueberries." I laughed. "Then why did you tell me that?" "Because a key ring needs a better story than a blueberry thief." For the first time since the RAV4 disappeared, I felt something other than helpless anger. I felt prepared. 2 days before the birthday lunch, Mom offered to return the car after Sunday only if I promised not to correct anyone publicly. She said Grandma's health could not tolerate conflict. I answered that I would not start a scene, but I would answer any direct question honestly. She called that a threat and ended the call. On Saturday, River City Toyota emailed me again. Martin Bell, the used car manager, wrote that Brooke had called asking whether a signed letter from a family member could substitute for my appearance. He had told her no. The email included the appraisal summary from her earlier visit. The RAV4 had been valued at approximately $21,000, subject to inspection and proof of clear title. In the notes section, the salesperson had written, "Customer states brother will transfer as family gift. Vehicle currently used as primary family transportation." Below that was a scheduled appointment for Monday morning. My mother had promised the car would be returned after Sunday lunch, while Brooke was still planning to trade it the next day. I forwarded the email to a new folder labeled RAV4 and did nothing else. That evening Brooke called. "Can I ask you one thing without you turning it into evidence?" "I do not know what that means." It means can we talk like brother and sister instead of you documenting everything. We tried that. She sighed. The dealer told us you blocked the trade. I told you I would not sign. You could at least hear the numbers. No. The RAV4 would cover most of the down payment. Ethan and I could handle the monthly payment if the trade value lowered the balance. And what would I drive? You could buy something smaller. With what money? You have savings. The answer was so casual that I had to sit down. How do you know what savings I have? Mom said you have more than enough because you do not have childcare costs. My finances are not a family resource. Noah, listen to how you sound. I sound like someone who is not giving you a $21,000 down payment. It would not cost you $21,000. Grandma bought the car. I closed my eyes. That does not make it free, I said. It makes it a gift from Grandma to me. Why does everything have to be about who deserves what? It became about that when Mom decided you deserved my car more than I did. Brooke's voice sharpened. You have always resented me. I have resented being expected to disappear whenever you need room. That is not fair. Neither is taking my vehicle. She went quiet. Then she said, Mom said if you love the kids, you would want them safe. The kids can be safe without owning my RAV4. Hell, you and Ethan can rent a car, finance a different vehicle, change schedules, ask for rides, or accept help from the church if you qualify. Those are difficult options. They are still your options. You make it sound so easy. I know it is not easy. I am saying hard does not mean mine. She began to cry again, but this time I did not mistake her distress for my obligation. Before ending the call, I asked one question. Did you submit the church assistance request? No, Mom handled it. Did you read what she submitted? She said it was standard paperwork. Did you sign anything? Just the request page. Did it say I loaned you the vehicle voluntarily? I do not remember. That means you did not want to know. She hung up without answering. Sunday morning was bright and cold. I put on a charcoal suit I had not worn since a coworker's funeral and ordered a rideshare to the church. The driver was named Malik. He asked whether I was headed to a wedding. A birthday, I said. Must be an important one. It might be. When we turned into the church lot, I saw the RAV4 immediately. It was parked near the fellowship hall entrance, clean enough to look freshly washed. The blue school pickup tag hung from the mirror. A baby ON board sticker had been added to the rear window, even though Mason was 4 and no longer a baby. As Malik pulled away, I walked closer and noticed a white paper tucked beneath the passenger side wiper. It was a River City Toyota appraisal sheet. The Monday appointment time was circled in blue ink. I photographed it through the windshield. The car was locked. I could see the center console where I used to keep the Robin key ring when I handed the car to a valet or mechanic. It was empty. The fellowship hall smelled of baked ham, coffee, and the lemon cleaner the church used on its tile floors. Round tables were covered in white paper cloths. Gold balloons floated near a banner that read Happy 82 ND, FRANCES. A slideshow of family photographs played on a screen near the piano. My mother stood near the kitchen directing volunteers. She wore a plum-colored dress and the same expression she used when organizing holidays, alert, pleased, and prepared to correct anyone who threatened the schedule. Her eyes dropped to my empty hands. You came in a rideshare, she whispered. You have my car. Not here. You asked. She glanced around to see whether anyone had heard. Brooke will give it back after lunch. The dealership appointment is tomorrow morning. For 1 second her face revealed surprise, then it closed. That appointment can be canceled. It already has been. Her lips pressed together. You enjoy creating obstacles. No, I enjoy not having my property sold. She leaned closer. Your grandmother is in a good mood. Do not punish her because you are angry with me. I am not the one who brought the car here with a trade appraisal on the windshield." She walked away before I finished. Brooke arrived 10 minutes later with Ethan and the children. Leela wore a blue dress and carried a handmade card for Grandma. Mason raced toward the cake table until Ethan caught the back of his sweater. Brooke saw me, paused, then handed Ethan the keys. The key ring had a black plastic dealer tag on it. "No, Robin. You could have removed the appraisal paper," I said. She looked toward the parking lot. "I thought Ethan did." "Where is my key ring?" "What key ring?" "The red Robin Grandma put on the keys." Brooke's eyes flicked toward our mother. "I do not know," she said. That answer hurt more than I expected. The Robin was worth perhaps $12. It was not a legal document or a financial asset, but it was the only part of the gift that had existed before the car. Grandma had carried it for decades. Someone had removed it because it made the key look too much like mine. Before I could ask again, Leela ran over and hugged my waist. "Uncle Noah, Mom says we're getting a van with a movie screen." Brooke closed her eyes. I knelt so I was level with my niece. "That sounds exciting. Can you come see it tomorrow?" "Tomorrow might change. Mom said you are helping us buy it." Every part of the trap was now visible. The adults had built the promise, then placed a child inside it so no one could dismantle it without looking cruel. I stood, Brooke whispered, "Please do not say anything to her." "I did not make the promise. She will be heartbroken." "Then you and Mom need to explain why you promised something you did not own." Brooke's face tightened. "You could prevent that." "I could surrender. That is not the same thing." The church service ended at noon. People moved into the fellowship hall carrying coats and casserole dishes. Grandma entered on Aunt Miriam's arm, smiling at everyone and complaining that the balloons made her look like she was running for office. When she saw me, she squeezed my hand. "You came," she said. "I said I would." "Good." Her eyes moved briefly toward the RAV4 outside, and so did the evidence. "Grandma." "I mean the car, Noah. Do not look so frightened." Lunch began normally. Uncle Charles offered grace. Children spilled lemonade. Two of Grandma's quilting friends told stories about the time she locked herself out of the church kitchen and climbed through a window at 73. For nearly an hour, no one mentioned the car. I began to think my mother had abandoned the public announcement. Then, after the plates were cleared, and before the cake came out, she tapped a spoon against her glass. "I know today is about Mother," she said, "but her life has always been about teaching us to care for one another. So I want to recognize someone who put that lesson into practice." My stomach dropped. Brooke stared at the table. My mother continued. When Brooke's van became unsafe, Noah made an extraordinary decision. He gave her the SUV Mother bought for him because he understood that a family with young children needed reliable transportation more than he did. She turned toward me with a smile that challenged me to destroy the moment. "Stand up, Noah." I did not move. Aunt Miriam began clapping. Others joined. Leela looked at me with open pride. Mason clapped because everyone else did. Elaine stepped forward holding the cream card. "The assistance committee heard about Noah's generosity," she said, "and we thought it deserved recognition." I watched her eyes move across the handwritten words on the front. Her expression changed. The printed line at the top said, "Thank you for providing temporary family transportation." Someone had crossed out temporary family transportation in purple ink and written, "Gifting your SUV" beneath it. Elaine looked at my mother. "Did you change this?" "I made it accurate," my mother said. "Accurate according to whom?" "According to the family." Grandma placed her napkin beside her plate. "Noah," she said, "did you actually say yes?" That brought us back to the moment where the story began. "No," I said, "nobody asked me." My mother laughed. "He means we did not have a formal family meeting." "I mean," I said no repeatedly. The room became still. Brooke's husband, Ethan, leaned toward her. "You told me he agreed." "Mom told me he did." My mother lifted both hands. We are getting lost in language. Noah originally agreed to help. The arrangement evolved because Brooke's van cannot be repaired. I agreed to help coordinate rides after my work conference, I said. While I was away, Mom took the emergency spare key and removed my car from the airport parking garage. A murmur moved through the room. Dad looked down. My mother's voice hardened. You left the key at our house. For emergencies involving Grandma. Your sister had an emergency. She had a transportation problem. That did not authorize you to take my vehicle. Listen to yourself, my mother said. Your sister has 2 children. You have access to a city truck. You live alone. You can adapt. My work truck cannot be used privately. You keep repeating policy as if policy matters more than people. It matters to my employer. Uncle Charles cleared his throat. Diane, did Noah give permission or not? My mother turned toward him. He has always known we expected him to help Brooke. That is not permission, Elaine said. My mother looked offended. This is a family matter. Then why was it included in a church assistance request? Elaine asked. The question moved through the room like cold air. Brooke looked at our mother. What exactly did you write on that form? My mother ignored her. Elaine held the card against her chest. The application our committee received described the RAV4 as a temporary loan ending when replacement transportation became available. Today, you announced it as a permanent gift. Circumstances changed. Did Noah sign an updated statement? Noah does not need to sign every family decision. Grandma's chair scraped lightly against the floor as she stood. He does when the decision gives away his car, she said. My mother's expression changed from controlled irritation to wounded patience. Mother, I know you paid for the vehicle and I understand that makes you protective, but you gave it to Noah because he needed help. Now Brooke needs help more. Grandma tilted her head. Is that what I said when I bought it? You said you wanted the family to be safe. I said I wanted Noah to have reliable transportation. The result is the same. No, Grandma said. The result you want is different. My mother looked around the hall, searching for the social ground she usually controlled. This has become ridiculous, she said. Noah is being asked to make one sacrifice for his niece and nephew. We are talking about a used car, not a house. He has savings. He has no dependents. Brooke has spent years giving everything to her children. I felt dozens of eyes turn toward me. Some were sympathetic. Others were uncertain. A few reflected the same arithmetic my mother used. 2 children on one side, 1 adult on the other. Need could be counted. Ownership, dignity, and consent were less visible. Aunt Miriam spoke softly. Could Noah not buy another smaller car? My mother seized the opening. Exactly, he could. Brooke cannot replace a family vehicle without the trade value. There is no trade value available to her, I said. Brooke's head snapped up. My mother narrowed her eyes. What did you do? I informed River City Toyota that I am the titled owner and will not sign the RAV4 over. Leela looked between the adults. Ethan quietly led both children toward the hallway, but my mother continued as if their absence removed the problem. You called the dealership behind your sister's back. I called about my car. You sabotaged the only reasonable plan we had. You never had a plan. You had my asset. My mother's face flushed. Fine. Since you insist on making this public, tell everyone what you expect Brooke to do. Rent a car indefinitely, drain her savings, miss work, pull the children out of activities. What exactly is your compassionate solution? It was a skillful question, because it made me responsible for solving every consequence of refusing. I do not know what Brooke should do, I said. I know she cannot solve it by taking my vehicle. Convenient. Accurate. My mother turned to the room. This is what I have dealt with his entire life. Noah stands outside the family, refuses to participate, and then quotes rules when anyone asks something of him. Brooke gives. Noah measures. For a moment, the old shame rose so fast I could barely breathe. I was 12 again, standing in our kitchen after refusing to give Brooke the money I had saved for a bicycle. I was 27, being told I should cancel a work trip because Brooke's dog needed surgery. I was 39, newly divorced, hearing my mother say that my pain would pass more easily because no children were involved. Then I saw Grandma watching me. She did not look angry on my behalf. She looked expectant, as if she knew I had reached the part of the story only I could speak. "I have participated," I said. "I drove Dad to every appointment after his surgery. I repaired Brooke's basement. I took Grandma to 16 therapy visits. I have helped because I chose to help. The problem is that Mom treats every past yes as permanent permission." My mother laughed sharply. "Now you want to meddle." "No, I want the right to say no without having my character rewritten." The room went silent again. Elaine set the altered card on the table. "I need to correct something," she said. "Our committee was told Noah had voluntarily provided temporary transportation. We were also told the vehicle would be returned to him once assistance was approved. We did not know anyone planned to trade it." Brooke turned toward my mother. "You said the church money was for the minivan deposit." "It was," my mother replied. Elaine shook her head. "The request was for emergency transportation support while your own vehicle situation was resolved. It was not approved as a supplement to a trade involving someone else's property." My mother's jaw tightened. "The forms are complicated. I may have used imperfect wording." "Did Noah authorize you to use his name?" Elaine asked. "Noah is my son." "That was not my question." My mother's gaze moved to my father. Dad looked as if he had been hoping the floor would open. Grandma turned to him. "Paul, how did Diane get the spare key?" He rubbed both hands over his knees. "Mother," my mother warned. Grandma did not look at her. "Paul." Dad raised his head. "The key was in our emergency cabinet." "Who removed it?" "Diane." "Did Noah tell you she could?" "No." The single word changed the room more than any speech could have. My mother stared at him. "You told me he agreed," Dad continued, his voice unsteady. "I drove you to the airport garage because you said he had agreed. I said he understood Brooke needed help. You said he gave permission. I believed he would." "That is not the same thing," Dad said. My mother looked at him as though he had committed the betrayal. "You are choosing this moment to grow a spine." Dad flinched, but he did not look away. "No, I am choosing this moment to tell the truth because I should have told it sooner." Brooke covered her mouth with one hand. Grandma nodded once, then looked at her. "Did you ever ask your brother whether you could keep the car?" Brooke's eyes filled. "Mom said he had already agreed." "Did you ask him?" "No." "Did you take the car to a dealership?" "Yes." "Did Noah sign anything?" "No." "Then what made you believe you could trade it?" Brooke's voice broke. "Because Mom said he would do it when he saw the numbers." Grandma's expression softened, but not enough to remove the question. "And when he said no?" Brooke stared at the floor. "I thought he would change his mind." "Why?" This time, Brooke had no mother's sentence ready. "Because he usually does," she whispered. No one moved. There it was, not a misunderstanding, not a broken-down van, not a disagreement about generosity. A family system built on the assumption that my refusal was only the first stage of my surrender. My mother reached for her glass and found it empty. "This has gone far enough," she said. "Brooke will return the car after the party. Everyone can stop treating me like a criminal." "The dealership appointment is tomorrow," I said. She looked at me sharply. I took out my phone and opened Martin Bell's email. I did not pass it around. I read only the relevant line. "Customer states brother will transfer as family gift. Vehicle currently used as primary family transportation." Brooke began to cry. My mother spoke over her. "That was preliminary. The dealership marked the appraisal inactive because I am the titled owner and refused the transfer." Aunt Miriam looked confused. "Diane, did you know the title was only in Noah's name?" My mother's answer was quiet. Francis paid for it. That was not the question, Grandma said. She reached beneath her chair and lifted the green dealership folder onto the table. My mother's face lost color. Grandma opened the folder, but she did not begin reading documents aloud. She placed 3 items side by side: the purchase order showing her payment, the title application listing me as owner, and the copy of her handwritten card. I bought the RAV4, she said, and I gave it to Noah, not to Diane, not to the family, not to whichever person Diane judged most deserving that month. Noah. She tapped the title application. This record does not decide whether Noah is generous. It only proves the decision was his. Then she picked up the copy of the card. I wrote this because Noah spent years helping me without using my need to control me. I will not watch his own family use someone else's need to control him. My mother's eyes flashed. So this is all about making Noah your favorite now? No, Grandma said. It is about refusing to let you punish the child who learned not to ask. A sound came from the hallway. Leela stood just beyond the door with Ethan beside her. He had apparently returned when the voices became quieter. She looked frightened. Are we not getting the van? She asked. Brooke stood so quickly her chair tipped backward. She went to her daughter and knelt. We do not know yet, she said. But Grandma, Diane said Uncle Noah was buying it with his car. My mother closed her eyes. Brooke looked at me over Leela's shoulder. Shame moved across her face, clear and unprotected. No, she told her daughter. Uncle Noah was not buying it. We should not have said that. Leela's mouth trembled. Did we take his car? Brooke held her tighter. We used it when we should have asked him first. It was not the full truth, but it was the first honest sentence Brooke had spoken about the situation in front of her child. Elaine gathered the committee papers. I am pausing the assistant's request, she said. Brooke, you may submit a corrected application based on your actual transportation need, but it cannot include Noah's property or his consent unless he provides it himself. My mother turned on her. You would punish children because of wording. We are not punishing anyone, Elaine said. We are refusing to approve assistance based on a false representation. You have no idea what this family is dealing with. I know enough to ask the person whose name appears on a form whether he agreed. My mother looked around the hall again. The social ground was gone. Not everyone was on my side. That was not what had changed. What changed was that no one could confidently repeat her version without ignoring something they had heard directly. She sat down. Grandma looked at Brooke. Where are the keys? Brooke wiped her face and reached into her purse. She removed the black dealer tag and a plain Toyota fob, then walked toward me. I am sorry, she said. I held out my hand. The key landed in my palm. It felt familiar and wrong without the robin. Where is the red key ring? I asked. Brooke looked at our mother. My mother said nothing. Mom removed it, Brooke whispered. She said the dealer did not need an old trinket hanging from the key. Grandma's eyes moved slowly to my mother. Where is it? I put it somewhere safe. Where? In my desk at home. Why remove it? I asked. My mother's face tightened because it made the key look personal. The answer was so revealing that she seemed to regret it the moment it left her mouth. Of course it looked personal. It was personal. The key ring contradicted the story that the RAV4 was simply a movable family resource. It carried a history, a giver, and a recipient. To make the transfer feel natural, my mother had needed to strip away the evidence that the car belonged in someone else's life. I closed my fingers around the bare fob. The car comes home with me tonight, I said. Tomorrow I will have every key reprogrammed. The spare in your cabinet will no longer work. My mother looked up. That is unnecessary. It is necessary because you used it once. You cannot lock your family out of everything because you are angry. I can lock anyone out of my car. Brooke nodded slowly. I will pay for the key programming. My mother turned toward her. You do not need to do that. Yes, Brooke said, I do. I continued. The vehicle will be inspected. If anything is missing or damaged, we will document it. I also want reimbursement for the ride shares I used after I requested the car back." My mother gave a disbelieving laugh. "Now you are sending your sister a bill." "I am asking the people who used my vehicle against my instruction to cover the direct costs they created. This family will never recover from the way you keep score." Grandma spoke before I could answer. "Help is something a person offers," she said. "It is not something a family assigns." The words were quiet. They did not produce applause. They did not need to. My mother stood. "I need air." She walked out through the side door alone. No one followed her. The birthday lunch did not end when my mother walked outside, but it never returned to normal. Cake was cut. People sang. Grandma blew out 2 candles shaped like an 8 and a 2, then complained that the numbers looked like a failed math problem. A few relatives laughed too loudly because they were grateful for permission to do something ordinary. I did not spend the rest of the afternoon explaining myself. That surprised people. Several came over with questions, but I gave the same answer each time. "The car was taken without my permission. It is being returned. The rest is between the people involved." Aunt Miriam apologized for suggesting I buy something smaller. "I did not understand," she said. "You understood the version you were given." She looked toward the side door my mother had used. "I should have asked before deciding what you could afford to lose." That was more honest than most apologies I had received in my life. Dad found me near the coffee urn. "I am sorry," he said. "For what part?" He absorbed the question without defending himself. "For believing your mother because checking with you would have created an argument. For helping her get the car. For asking you to protect her from embarrassment after she embarrassed you." I nodded, but I did not tell him it was all right. It was not all right yet. "Thank you for telling the truth in the room," I said. "I should have done it sooner." "Yes." He looked down at his hands. "What happens now?" "You stop holding my spare keys." His face tightened, then relaxed. "That is fair. And if Mom says I agreed to something, you ask me." "I will. I need more than you will try." He met my eyes. "I will ask you directly." That was the first new boundary of the afternoon. It was small enough to keep. Brooke stayed away from me until most guests had left. Ethan loaded the children into his sedan, which was barely large enough for both seats but entirely capable of getting them home. Then Brooke stood beside the RAV4 with her purse clutched against her stomach. "I emptied most of our things," she said. "The booster seat is still installed. I can remove it." "I will handle it." She handed me a second key fob. "Mom had this one." So there were 2 keys in circulation. "I guess." "You guess." She closed her eyes. "I know that sounds terrible. It sounds like you never asked enough questions to know where my property was. I am sorry." I unlocked the car. The inside smelled like fruit snacks and the vanilla air freshener Brooke used in her van. A school permission slip lay under the passenger seat. My quarters were gone from the console. The rubber cargo mat was scratched but intact. The gray emergency blanket was missing. Brooke watched me take inventory. "I put your things in Mom's garage," she said. "Why?" She said we needed to make the car functional for the children. It was functional before. "You know what I mean." "I do. You needed it to feel like yours." Her eyes filled again. "I did not think of it that way." "That has been the problem." She leaned against the passenger door. "I want you to know I did not ask Mom to take it from the airport." "But you kept it after I told you to return it." "Yes." "You took it to the dealership." "Yes." "You let Leela believe I was helping buy the van." Brooke looked toward Ethan's sedan. "Yes." "Then this cannot be repaired by saying Mom started it." "I know." She wiped her cheek with the heel of her hand. "I think I kept waiting for you to give in because you always did. And every day you did not, I became more angry at you instead of more honest with myself." That was not forgiveness. It was, however, The first time my sister named her own convenience without hiding behind the children. "I am taking the RAV4 to River City tomorrow," I said. "They will inspect it and reprogram the keys. I will send you the invoice." She nodded. "I also have $486 in rideshare and transit costs after the written return deadline." Her eyes widened slightly, but she did not argue. "Send that too. I am not charging you for every trip from the beginning, only after I made the deadline clear." "I understand." "Do you?" "I am starting to." She stepped away from the door. "What am I supposed to tell Leela?" "The truth at a level she can understand. You promised something before you had the right to promise it. That will make her think I am a bad mother." "No, hiding it teaches her that being a good mother means someone else must absorb every mistake." Brooke looked at me for a long moment. "You really have changed," she said. This time, the sentence did not sound like an accusation. "I had to." I drove Grandma home before going to my apartment. She settled into the passenger seat, adjusted the heater vent away from her face, and ran one finger over the empty metal ring where the robin should have been. "She removed it because it looked personal," Grandma said. "I know. That may be the most truthful thing your mother said all day." We drove in silence for several blocks. "Did you enjoy any part of your birthday?" I asked. "The ham was dry, the cake was too sweet, and my oldest daughter lied in front of the assistance committee." "I am sorry." Grandma looked out the window. "I also watched my grandson answer a direct question without apologizing for existing. That was worth turning 82. At her house, she asked me to come inside. From the filing cabinet, she removed a small envelope and wrote my name across it." "What is that?" "Copies of the purchase papers. You already showed them. I am giving them to you now. Adults keep their own important records." The rebuke was gentle but deserved. I had allowed Grandma to hold the folder because some part of me still believed authority lived with the oldest person in the room. The title was mine. The responsibility to protect it was mine too. I took the envelope. "Thank you." "Do not thank me for returning your own documents. I am thanking you for asking the right question." She softened. "Then you are welcome." The following morning, River City Toyota verified my title, deleted every other stored key, and reprogrammed the 2 fobs in my possession. The inspection found a missing cargo cover, a scratch inside the rear compartment, and a lightly scraped bumper. I sent Brooke the key programming invoice, the rideshare receipts accumulated after my written return deadline, and photographs of the missing or damaged items. I did not include the bumper repair because I could not prove when the scrape occurred. Brooke called that evening. She admitted Mason had dragged a scooter across the cargo panel and said the cargo cover and blanket were in Mom's garage. She and Ethan agreed to repay $798 over 3 months and return the missing items. They also abandoned the minivan purchase after reviewing the budget without my trade-in. Instead, they rented a compact car briefly and bought an older sedan from one of Ethan's coworkers. It was inconvenient, but it was affordable and belonged to them. The Church Assistance Committee sent Brooke a new application. This time, Elaine required that the request contain only Brooke and Ethan's own income, vehicle, and transportation information. The committee approved a modest 2-week rental subsidy, paid directly to the rental agency. It was less than my mother had wanted, but it addressed the actual emergency without turning my car into community property. Elaine also sent a short email to the relatives and committee members who had signed the altered card. At Sunday's birthday lunch, information was presented suggesting that Noah Mercer had permanently gifted his vehicle to another family member. That representation was not authorized by Noah and was inaccurate. The committee has corrected its records. We regret participating in public recognition based on information we had not verified. The message did not name my mother. It did not describe the dealership or the key. It corrected the public record without creating another spectacle. My mother called me 6 times after the email went out. I did not answer until the next evening. You embarrassed me in front of the entire church, she said without greeting. I did not send the correction. You gave Elaine information. She called me because you used my name on an application. I was trying to help your sister. You were trying to use the church to complete a decision I had refused. That is a cruel interpretation. It is the sequence of events. She lowered her voice. Do you understand what people think of me now? I almost said, do you understand what they thought of me when you told them I broke a promise I never made? Instead, I let the silence answer. My mother continued. Your grandmother has also changed her emergency contacts. She removed me from the medical portal. That was new information. What did she change? I asked. You know exactly what she changed. She made you and Miriam her primary contacts and moved me to secondary. She changed the alarm code. She took her financial papers from our house. I did not ask her to do that. But you caused it. No, your choices caused her to reconsider who controls her information. She is 82. She needs stability. She needs people who do not treat access as ownership. My mother's breath caught. You sound just like her. I hope I do. She ended the call. I phoned Grandma immediately. You changed your contacts. Yes. Because of the car. Because the car showed me a larger problem. What problem? That Diane considers proximity a form of authority. She had my insurance cards, medication list, bank contact sheet, spare house key, and alarm code. Most of that arrangement began when I had surgery. Temporary convenience became permanent control because no one reviewed it. Did she misuse your accounts? No, do not invent a crime because you are angry. She did not steal money. She did, however, speak for me too often. I am correcting that before it becomes a crisis. Grandma had worked with her attorney and physician's office during the week. She designated Aunt Miriam as primary medical contact because Miriam lived closest, listed me second, and kept my mother as an emergency contact without portal authority. She moved original financial documents into a bank safe deposit box and gave duplicate keys to herself and Uncle Charles. She hired a local service to handle lawn maintenance rather than letting my mother coordinate every visit. This is not revenge, Grandma said. It is maintenance. That word stayed with me. Boundaries were not always dramatic walls built after disaster. Sometimes they were maintenance, the ordinary work of keeping one person's access from becoming another person's authority. Dad came to my apartment the following Saturday with the missing cargo cover, my gray blanket, a small jar of quarters, and the red robin key ring. He placed everything on the kitchen table. Your mother asked me not to bring the robin, he said. Why? She said giving it back would make the whole situation feel permanent. I picked up the key ring. The red enamel was scratched near one wing, but the brass loop was intact. The situation was permanent when she decided my no did not matter. Dad nodded. He sat at the table but did not take off his coat. Your mother and I have been arguing, he said. She believes everyone has abandoned her. Have you? No, but I told her I will not confirm stories I have not verified anymore. That sounds exhausting. It is, he gave a sad smile. I should have discovered that exhaustion 30 years ago. I attached the robin to the newly programmed key fob. Dad watched. I remember when your grandfather bought that for Francis. She says he hated robins because they stole his blueberries. He did. He built a ridiculous wire cage over the bushes, and they still got in. Then why did she keep it? Because the first spring after they bought the house, a robin nested above the back porch. Your grandfather complained every morning and checked the nest every evening. Dad smiled at the memory. When the chicks left, he acted disappointed for a week. I turned the small red bird between my fingers. The better story, I realized, was not that robins always knew where home was. It was that attachment could hide beneath irritation, and truth could survive even when someone retold it badly. Dad grew serious again. Noah, I need to ask what you want our relationship to look like. I do not know yet. That is fair. I need time, and I need you to stop asking me to restore peace by absorbing whatever Mom does. I understand. Do you? Because when she becomes upset, you will feel pressure to fix it. She will tell you I am punishing her. She will say the family is falling apart. She already has. What did you say? I said a family that depends on one person having no boundaries is already falling apart. It is simply quiet about it. I looked at him surprised. Did Grandma give you that line? No, I am capable of one original thought per quarter. I laughed, and some of the tension left the room. Brooke made the first payment 2 weeks later. She sent $266 through a payment app with the note first of three. No argument, no request for praise. A month after the party, she asked whether I would meet her for coffee. We chose a cafe halfway between our homes. She arrived without the children and looked more tired than I had ever seen her. For the first 15 minutes, we talked about neutral things: Dad's new blood pressure medication, Grandma's church friends, Leela's school project. Then Brooke placed both hands around her cup. I have been thinking about why I did not ask you, she said. Because Mom said I agreed. That is what I told myself. I waited. The real reason is that asking created a chance you would say no. If I did not ask, I could believe Mom's version and take what I needed. That is honest. It is ugly. Both can be true. She nodded. When we were children, Mom made every difference between us sound reasonable. You were older, so you should understand. Then you were single, so you had more time. Then you were divorced, so holidays mattered less to you because there were no children involved. I never had to demand anything. She presented it as already decided. And you accepted it. I did. Sometimes you encouraged it. I know. Her eyes reddened. Do you remember the year you were supposed to go to Denver for work and Mom made you stay because my dog needed surgery? I remember. I knew Ethan could take the dog. I did not say anything because I was scared and wanted you there. I had not known that. I lost a promotion interview because I canceled that trip, I said. Brooke closed her eyes. I am sorry. The apology could not return the interview. It could not rewrite our childhood or make the raw 4-month disappear. But it named a fact that had been hidden inside family language for years. What do you want from me now? She asked. I want you to ask before assuming. I want you to accept no without taking it to Mom for appeal. And I do not want the children used as evidence that your need automatically outranks mine. She nodded slowly. What if I really need help? Then ask. I may say yes. And if you say no, then it is no. She looked down at her coffee. I am not used to that. Neither am I. We did not hug when we left. We were not suddenly close. Rebuilding a relationship is less dramatic than exposing a lie. It happens through small repetitions. One direct question, one accepted refusal, one promise not made on someone else's behalf. Over the following months, Brooke practiced. She asked whether I could pick Leela up from school on a day Ethan had a medical appointment. I said yes. 2 weeks later, she asked whether I could lend her the RAV4 for a weekend trip because their sedan was uncomfortable. I said no. She replied, understood, and rented a larger vehicle. That simple response meant more to me than the tearful apology at the church. My relationship with my mother became narrower. We spoke mostly in group settings. When she called to ask something involving my time or property, I requested that she send it by text. At first, she accused me of treating her like a business contact. I told her written communication helped prevent misunderstandings. She understood what I meant, even if she refused to admit it. She never offered the apology Grandma wanted. The closest she came was 3 months later, after a family dinner at Aunt Miriam's house. I should not have assumed you would agree, she said while we stood near the coat rack. No, you should not have. I was trying to protect Brooke. You were willing to harm me to do it. Her mouth tightened. I do not see it that way. I know. That was the end of the conversation. For years, I believed closure required the person who hurt me to understand the harm exactly as I did. Grandma helped me see that sometimes closure is recognizing they may never understand and building a life their misunderstanding cannot control. The RAV4 remained mine. I paid to correct the bumper scrape myself because I wanted the car restored without turning every imperfection into a debt. The faint scratch in the cargo area stayed. It reminded me that recovery did not mean pretending nothing had happened. Every Sunday afternoon, I drove Grandma somewhere. Sometimes to church, sometimes to lunch, sometimes just to the grocery store where she inspected tomatoes as if she were hiring them for a management position. She no longer let my mother coordinate her schedule. Aunt Miriam handled medical appointments. I managed transportation when I was available, and Grandma used a local senior service when neither of us could help. One rainy afternoon, Grandma touched the red robin hanging from my key and said the hardest part of the birthday was not hearing Mom lie. It was watching the room applaud before anyone had asked me. The story of a single man sacrificing for a mother and children felt so morally satisfying that consent became invisible. I almost let them keep believing it, I said. I know, she replied, but you answered when someone finally asked. A year after the birthday lunch, we met in the same fellowship hall for Grandma's 83rd birthday. Aunt Miriam and Elaine organized it. There were no public tributes to private sacrifices. I arrived in the RAV4, and Brooke arrived in the reliable used sedan she and Ethan had bought with their own money. Before lunch, she asked whether she could borrow 4 folding chairs for a gathering the following weekend. She did not ask Mom first, mention the children, or turn the request into an obligation. She asked and waited. I said yes. That small exchange showed more change than any dramatic apology could have. When Elaine invited Grandma to speak before the cake, Grandma stood and said, "I have one rule for the coming year. Before you praise someone for a sacrifice, make sure they volunteered." People laughed, but they understood. The visible consequences had been settled months earlier. The keys were reprogrammed, the direct costs were repaid, the church record was corrected, and Grandma reorganized access to her own affairs. The deeper change was that my family no longer treated silence as agreement. Dad checked with me directly. Brooke asked and accepted no. Mom still tested boundaries, but she encountered them. After the party, I drove Grandma home with leftover cake balanced on her knees. At the curb, she asked whether I was happy. "I think I am getting there," I said. "That is a better answer than yes." I watched her reach the porch, then return to the RAV4. The red enamel robin flashed once against the dashboard. I thought about the man who had stood in Brooke's driveway, afraid that reclaiming his own car would make him cruel. I did not hate him. He had survived by being useful and easy to overlook. But he had learned that a boundary was not a punishment, a direct answer was not a scene, and no was not the opening bid in a negotiation. I started the engine and drove home in the car Grandma had given me. The car my mother tried to turn into a symbol of obligation, and my grandmother restored as a symbol of choice. This time the robin came with me.